All right, guys, we're back with Put Up or Shut Up, episode number 9. And we know what? We were on a short little hiatus. I want to go ahead and apologize for that. You know what? Thorin was just bodying people too much. So we kind of had to really go back to the drawing board and bring someone in that we think could do the job. And I think we found that person. Let's go ahead and meet our guest today. We've got Duncan Thorin Shields. We've got Adam Friberg. And we've got the man himself, Da Bears. How are you guys doing? Finally here on Put Up or Shut Up.
I'm good. I'm ready.
All good. All good. Excited to be here.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Duncan's
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the first question. Who is the most standout player of ECS Season 3 Finals that is not on SK? And we're going to start from the left. Let's start with Thorin.
Okay, I said Nico from FaZe.
Okay, go on.
Do I give my reason why?
Yes, all day.
Right, okay, fair enough then. So first of all, just statistically, he had unreal numbers. I think if you look in general, he was like the MVP player for their team, and their team obviously made the final, was very close to winning it itself. I think at the moment he's just been on an insane heater since he's been in FaZe, and that's why they've been in the final 4 times in a row.
Okay, Friberg.
I actually picked Elish. I do agree with, Nico is always a standout player, but I think Elish is like on a level above his team when he's playing, especially in the game against Astralis, where they, put up a really good game against Astralis in the group stage and almost made it out. Of course, it's still group stage, but I think still he's been proving like to be a top tier player.
All right, Da Bears, let's see what you got, bud.
C9 Shroud. The reason I picked him, I know you're gonna laugh at this one.
Okay, come on.
His standard is so low in these past year that, to me, for him to just actually play well in a major, in a tournament where there's actually good teams, I felt like he was the standout player by definition.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? That's what you want to go with. That is completely fine. Let's go ahead and start the timer at 4.5 minutes. I'm going to open it up for all of you to just kind of get it out there and put it on the table.
Okay. So since Da Bears used the classic term definition, well, the definition of the question was who was the most standout player of ECS Season 3 Finals, not who was the most standout player of the bad players on Cloud9. Now, if the bad players on Cloud9, you nailed it, you win. Unfortunately, you lose in this format because it's any player not on SK Gaming. So first of all, it's got to be someone who's one of the best players in the whole tournament, which I think you'd be hard-pressed to say Shroud was. I think Elige is someone where, for his team, yeah, he was one of the standout players, but his team didn't go that far. They didn't actually play in the harder group either. Like the other group had FaZe, G2, SK. Someone like Nico had to play killers in the group stage. He had to play G2 in a best of 3. He had to play SK in a best of 1. Then he had to go to the semifinals. Then he had to go to the final and play SK again. And despite all of that, he had like superstar MVP level numbers.
Well, it's not unusual for Nico to always have these numbers, even on Mouse, when people considered him to be bad, or not him bad, but his team bad, he was still a good team. My point being is Nico is still surrounded by great players, which help propel him to be that better player. Now, if you take my route of Shroud, as he would say, shit bad players, Thorin, it's a little it's nice seeing that there's other people in the NA other than Elige and Stewie 2K to actually step it up, and I want to see this. I want to see this new Shroud to play better, to stop playing PUBG and streaming, and I want to see him take C9 back to the #1 team in NA. I want it.
Looking at the teams that Liquid played against, because I picked Elish, they played against Astralis, they lost the BO1, they played against Fnatic in a BO3, they won the BO3, and then they played against Astralis again. And if you look at stats, numbers, yeah, sure, he was ranked number 2 at the event. He played 2 maps less than Nico. Sure, yeah, Nico, he's an amazing player, I won't deny that. But still, being in the situation where Elish is in a team that, they didn't even make it out of the groups, and they're playing against top all like Astralis and Fnatic. In Astralis in 4 maps and Fnatic in 3, and putting up like over 1.2 or something like that. That's impressive for me. That's why I picked him as a standout player. The thing is, I think I'm getting too used to Nico being like good. He's always getting like 1.2.
Okay.
But his team is like,
okay.
Nico's team. Nico isn't standing out as much because his teammates are also super good. They have Rain, they have Kishima, they have, even Carrigan putting up big frags and big clutches. So I mean, just looking at the games and not only looking at stats, I think that's why I picked Elish.
Okay, so he's gone the opposite way to the De Beers approach. Then not only is it that Shroud's better than shit, it's that Nico's too good. So it's his fault, right, for being too good. No, the problem I have there, though, is that that's exactly it. Like, if you look at, like, here's the problem. On paper, it looks awesome if you say you beat Fnatic, but the actual Fnatic that showed up at that tournament really wasn't that great overall. Like, they did overwhelmingly lose to everyone. And actually, the fact that they weren't that good and you got to play 3 whole maps against them, even though I think Elish is a very good player, I think that actually padded his stats a little bit, because like basically almost half of the tournament that he played was just against a Fnatic that was having some big problems. Whereas in theory, even Nico's weakest opponents that he was playing, I mean, it's people like Cloud9 themselves who actually were having a pretty decent tournament and looked like they were in some sort of form, and even on one map could push FaZe to kind of a tough match. So I think overall, it's hard to argue that FaZe didn't play the hardest competition in the tournament. And Nico actually could have been the MVP of the entire tournament anyway, forgetting SK Gaming, if you'd have wanted to make that argument. It's just that SK obviously won the tournament. Come on, 40 seconds left, De Beers. You must have some absolute bullshit you want to throw in right now. It's not going to mean anything. Come on.
I like Nico. I like Elish. I think they are awesome players. But again, the team route, they're set up to do well. You look at Nico, he's doing a lot of the hard work as well, but again, he's surrounded by amazing teammates. On Team Liquid, Elish, he's literally third person in every single bomb strat, so he's always baiting. You have to have a baiter. It's part of the game, but it's going to pad his stats, make him look well, and it just, I think Shroud, he's having a lot of.
Well, that was a good filibuster, but time's up.
Yeah, time is up. That is very true. We got Thorin with Nico. We've got De Beers with Shroud, and Friberg coming in with Elish. And this is the part where I have to pick one of you to get a point for this question. And it is interesting the way you're saying this, Thorin, that one's going the super high one way and then the super low the other way. So you know what? I'm gonna have to side with probably Friberg on this one. I think his argument was the better of the arguments there.
Damn.
Just a little upset. It's fine. Is
it only because it's the first time here for me, or?
Yeah, they like to start out, easy.
Yeah,
feel people comfortable.
Yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. The point is there. Friberg gets the point, and you know what? For that, we're gonna give De Beers a point as well, just because Thorin's attitude. I'm just not really feeling that talk against the system today.
I can play with a handicap, don't worry about it.
Let's move on to the next question. We've got the biggest disappointment of the ECS Season 3 Finals. We're going to start with you, Friberg.
All right. I didn't pick a team. I just picked out the teams who were not being able to close out games. Because, I saw so many teams that just had 15 rounds, 14 rounds, and they as CT on maps that they should be able to easily get 2 or 3 rounds if they just played it correctly. For example, looking at that Cloud9 match against who was it now again? Was it SK? No, it wasn't SK. It was
FaZe.
Can't even remember. FaZe, yeah. Where they had 15-6, I think they had. Just playing it safe, doing eco, making full buys. Even gambling on a site like Navi used to do. Navi are in my opinion, very good at this, at least when they had Zeus, because they were playing it all right, but let's play 4 guys on B one round. So if they go B, we'll win the round. And if they go A, yeah, okay, we'll just save 4 guns and let the guy on A die unless he picks up 3 kills. That's, in my opinion, a good way of playing when we're in the big advantage, because, losing games 9 rounds in a row, and I even saw the after game interview with Shroud that they were tilting and stuff like that. That's strange for me that they're playing on the top level of CS and still not been able to win rounds. Of course, even I lost those rounds, but those games. But for me, it's weird that teams still do that. They should have probably learned by now.
Well, let's move on to De Beers.
So originally, I had Olaf Meister for it, but then I'm thinking, well, maybe I could just lump the whole team in there.
How about just tell us who you actually picked, not your imaginations and dreams and thoughts.
Okay, well, I'll just go with my original Olaf Meister. He he performed really bad this whole tournament. They lost to 2 American teams. And it's just really like you saw him in the last month or two. You see Olaf coming back. He's doing well. He's carrying his team, and then him to go out like that and lose to Team Liquid and Cloud9. It's just don't get me wrong. This guy's better than 99% of the people out there. But still, a little disappointment compared to, what do you expect with a great Olaf Mester.
All right, Duncan, let's hear what you got.
Okay, I went with Fnatic because obviously you look at some of their past tournament eliminations and it was usually right on the border. They lost to the best teams. They were in the really stacked groups and they only just didn't get out. And then they go to DreamHack Summer. They actually looked pretty good there. They even were able to spank SK on Overpass. So it looked like they're coming in really hot form. They had the easier group. The group of death was the other one. And in theory, you're only having to beat probably Team Liquid or probably Cloud9 in theory to get out of the group. So I think the expectation for this team was at least top 4, and they actually finished in last place outright. So for me, that's pretty disappointing stuff.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and open the floor up. We got 4.5 minutes on the clock, and go for it.
And Thorin, it is pretty bad for Fnatic for losing to them. And why? Because if you want to throw that stat game out there, Olaf Meister, he was terrible. He was bad. Probably one of the reasons why they couldn't beat them.
Listen, Bears, as Friberg will tell you, one player alone isn't the reason that a team loses. You'd lose if there's problems with the team as a whole. And I think if you look at Fnatic in this tournament, a lot of what worked for them at DreamHack Summer is clearly like things that didn't work for them here. Like they didn't have a map pool. They even said after DreamHack Summer, like the maps they won, they didn't even really know why they won them or like what is Overpass our map now. So in this tournament, they were doing bizarre things like agreeing to play Cloud9 on Train, which I still don't even understand to this day. It's always been a strong Cloud9 map. Then when they got to actually play the series against Team Liquid, bizarrely, they won on Train, but then lost all the other maps, including their own picks. So I feel like Fnatic as a team just weren't even anywhere. I think they themselves would be incredibly disappointed without winning that tournament. They clearly had no clue what was going to happen overall. And Olaf Meister is a key player within Fnatic, but it's not like he's been the superstar for a long time. Like you look at that team, it's pretty deep in terms of fraggers and potential stars. So I don't think Olaf Meister having a downturn alone makes you come 4th in the easier group.
It's true, but
like as Thorin said, it's more like it's really like one player that has to be like super underperforming and getting frags like game after game. But you can't blame a player for going out of a tournament from like not performing maybe at like his top level on every tournament, because every player, even Nico, will have tournaments where he won't go and get like 1.2 rating every event. But then you gotta have faith in your teammates, and like the team has to carry you, because you're not supposed to be in a team with players that you're not able to carry, or what to say then, because you got to be able to play as a team and win as a team. You can't just like rely on one person to carry you through victories.
Okay, here's the problem though. Friberg's answer, which was, what was it? Oh, it was just that teams didn't close out at the tournament. I get that. Okay, the problem with that is it's such like a vague abstract concept. Like when we get asked the question like that, usually the interpretation is, you pick a team or you pick a player. You pick a distinct
I'll
quality.
go with this. I'll pick Cloud9 because that was what I talked about.
Okay, you want to switch it up? You switch to Cloud9?
Cloud9 was one of the teams. I think it was both Cloud9
right. Okay,
and,
so it was Cloud9 for not closing out then. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, while I get the context in which it was a disappointment for you, I also think you have to take like the bad with the good. Like Cloud9 wasn't able to do it in that context, but they also exceeded expectations. They got out of a group where most people had the other teams getting out. They managed to finish top 4. Because to me, you can't really just have like vague abstract concepts, because in that case, I'll just go worse. I'll go, the biggest disappointment was that ECS Season 3 Finals took place in a world that's got global warming, that's got, war-torn countries around the world, got mass starvation. Right. Like, to me, guys, that's worse than, teams not closing out match. We've got to nail it down here, boys. And I've gone straight in there. I've said Fnatic, team that was second at DreamHack Summer, shit le bed, finished last place. That's pretty disappointing.
All right, fair enough. But yet again, sure, Cloud9, they came over the groups. It's still the group stages, it's best of ones. Being able to win those, it's not impossible. Like in ECS Finals 3, like now, all the teams there can beat a team in best of 1 on any map. Not on any map,
I get your point.
They'll get to the playoffs by doing it. So, okay, Cloud9 they got to the playoffs, but still, it's like I look into matches, and when I see that match, I'm just configured like how are like the in-game leader or like who's leading the team to victory there? Like how are they approaching? I think like when they're losing 2 rounds, when it's like 16, like 15-8, 15-9, they're thinking about, okay, let's not lose, instead of thinking, okay, let's win, right? So I mean that's disappointing for me to see in the top level of CS today. That's my argument. My biggest disappointment was.
Yeah,
kind of
but
like
the
that.
problem
Yeah.
with that is like that really does lead back, as most people would say, to like you don't have a good in-game leader. And so actually, if you don't have a good in-game leader, once you get to like the semi-finals of a big tournament, it probably is expected you should lose. It's not. It might be disappointing on like on an abstract level, but it's actually quite reasonable that a team like Cloud9 shouldn't beat FaZe if they don't have someone who can tell them when to eco, what site to go to, and just play default.
Yeah, well, I just want to say before I got 2 seconds, 2 seconds on it. And with C9,
The time's up. Time's up. You said 2 seconds. 2
the-
seconds.
the time
That
is
took 4
up.
seconds to say.
The time is up. The time is up. And, you know, I'm kind of disappointed in you, Mr. Friberg and the Bears. This is not your question. This is not going to go your way. If Duncan is able to convince one of you to change your answer, then that would mean he does win this point. I can't even.
I didn't want to
that.
say it, Stunner, but you know, I've learned a few. I've got the House of Cards approach to this game. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, you have been winning episode after episode, so I don't know how that works.
Exactly.
It's almost like this thing's rigged. I can't even explain it. Let's move on to the next question. A hot topic, one I think Thorin's going to have the most fun with. Who is the current best North American team? Thorin.
Start with me. I will go with CLG Counter Logic Gaming.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah, I said it.
What?
So I'm going to say, you go ahead and look at their performances in international tournaments. They finished top 4 at DreamHack Summer. They actually got out of a group with a bunch of teams that people thought were going to be better than them. They were able to beat the likes of SK Gaming, eventual champions of the tournament. You go back a few tournaments, Star Series Season 3, they managed to finish top 8 there. Unfortunately, ran into one of the best teams in the world in Astralis. But to get out of that, they had to snap Gambit's winning streak on Cobblestone. They had to have a bunch of good results, beat Immortals on Cash. This is a team where internationally, they've really put up numbers that actually no NA team in the last 2 to 3 months has really been able to match.
All right, Mr. Friberg.
Well, I'm gonna go with Liquid. I big Liquid fan now apparently, but I mean they've been playing well. I think they played well in ECS Season 3. I think, as I said, I mean, being able to beat a team like Astralis that will more likely go to like either the semifinal or the final in a decider match in the group stage will kind of determine that, okay, either you do like a big upset and you beat one of those top 3 teams, or if they would have had another team like a top 5, top 6 team, they could easily have gone to the semifinal and got top 4. They got top 4 at the ESL Pro Leagues finals. So, I mean, yeah, I think they've been playing great recently, and I think they're the best North American team.
All right, the Bears. Nothing short of entertainment value in this part.
I pick, obviously, the first answer, Cloud9. I think they are the more consistent team out of the bunch. Now, I'd say that, but again, they have the potential to beat teams. You know, they beat Astralis, this last one, and Fnatic. You know, you can't just laugh that off. And over the time, they do have potential to win tournaments. It's just, you know, maybe it's a mental game. They have to, as Friberg was mentioned earlier, they're playing to not lose instead of playing to win. And I think that's one of the hills that they have to get over. But until they do that, you know, they could be considered 1 to 2, I would say. But if they get over that hill, I believe that they will be the #1 team, without a doubt, in North America.
Well, 4.5 minutes on the clock. It is about that time. Let's take it away, boys.
All right, so
Here he goes. Come on.
Let's take a little poke at CLG right now. Unfortunately for CLG, they just lost probably one of the key factors of them doing so well, and that is their coach, I'm a Pet. He was doing a lot of the, you know, the demo watching, making strats, working with the team. I wasn't CLG Red, but point being, I still saw how he worked with the team. I still saw how they got better. They put in the hard work. He was always there. He was a great coach, and that's what really helped them get to that next level, along with Ricky. But the point being, they lost a coach. Now CLG's in a big shamble, and I mean, I can't see them, you know, getting better than their previous results.
I mean, that's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter what's happening in the future, Bears. We're talking about right now. So as of right now, nothing's changed in that team. They haven't
right
played
now,
in the
they're
tournament.
not.
And you said Cloud9 is pretty consistent. You're right, because Cloud9 consistently this year has failed to get out of group stages and make any sort of impact whatsoever. They did one time when they were at ECS, and that was where they won 2 best-of-1s. Think about all those tournaments they didn't get out the group stage. That was where it was a Swiss system, or that was where it was round-robin best-of-1s. You had to win 3 or 4. They could never do it. So when they only had to play 2 games, magically they made it out one time. What happened? They got their asses dusted off by FaZe.
At least they
Good
got there.
Night.
At least they got there. Where is CLG?
Oh, they got there.
Where's
Yes,
the CLG?
right. Well, CLG got
Finals,
top 4 DreamHack Summer. They got
Where
top
are
8 at Start Series. So that's 2 better playoff placings than CLG, than Cloud9.
I mean, if you want to have consistent of the team, you have to make the playoffs. You have to get to the
they did.
stage.
Yeah, CLG made the playoffs more than Cloud9. Thanks for reiterating my point.
What?
Let's hear it, Friberg. I think
this.
Friberg has a little something in his pocket.
Yeah, I mean, looking at international, first of all, CLG, but they weren't even at the ESL Pro League finals. Liquid were. It was a round robin system where they played 5 games. They barely made it out, but they did make it out. They played against Envious, who at just that event had like a very good tournament. They won the Group A, and being able to get to the semifinal with those teams at that caliber. That shows to me that they're able to be the best North American team. And at the ECS Finals as well. Okay, sure, Cloud9, they came further than them, but I'm pretty sure if Liquid were in Cloud9's position in the first group, they would have made it out, because Liquid had a much tougher group than C9.
So here's the problem with Team Liquid, though, is that at that tournament, EPL, where they made top 4, first of all, they were in the easy group. Like the Group A was the group of death. I mean, there was a few teams there people might know, Fnatic, etc., not making it. But in the other one, Group B, not only were they in the easier group, but part of how they got drawn against Envious was in the last game of the group, North were already qualified no matter what to come in top 4, to come in the semi-finals directly, and North magically lost a game and later on admitted they were like saving strats and didn't just tried stuff randomly. So they only even got like the easy route, which they then beat Envious, great, then got completely dusted off by North just because of essentially factors that don't really mean you're a better team. So the problem is that's like a top 4 where it's like one of the most meager top 4s you could ever get. Then you go over to ECS. Yeah, it looks awesome that you just lose to Astralis. And then you go to the low bracket match and it's like, oh, you beat Fnatic, who's not very good. And then you just lose to Astralis. So people want to be like, oh, but we only just lost to Astralis. Well, as Jay-Z, the man Hover, once said, moral victories are for minor league coaches. And we're not talking about the minor leagues here.
Oh, my God.
We're talking about the majors. And I'm saying Team Liquid's not at that level, so the moral victories don't count. I'm just talking about real results in the world. CLG top 8 Star Series,
Okay,
CLG top 4 DreamHack Summer, real results, real rap.
I'll say like this: Group B, that one that Liquid were in EPL, had like it had better teams than DreamHack Summer. So it kind of shows to me that CLG, they just kind of like went on a banana, like what do you call it? Like they slipped on a banana and whoops! Oh shit, we're in the semi-final. Let's do it.
You don't slip on a banana skin and beat SK Gaming, matey. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that. Also, by the way, I'd be careful using that kind of terminology around that team. But okay, let's go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, God. Well, the timer's out, and somehow...
Time's right out anyway, so...
See, I think Duncan has figured the show out that when he gets the last word in on the timer, like he knows that he's got the... he's going to probably get the point with the last word in. But, I mean, when I do look back at this, we've got Thorin with CLG, we've got the Bears with C9, and we've got Friberg with Liquid. The most convincing argument, I think, is going to have to go... I hate to say it, I really do. Anybody that can tie Rock Nation into this show has won my vote. So I'm gonna have to go with Thorin on this one for the just the sheer Jay-Z quote. Honestly, you did great. You could convince me to buy a car today. Okay. I think if you tried.
Or Yeezys.
Or Yeezys, something like that. Let's move on to the next question. We've got most titles by the end of the year. We're gonna do FaZe, Astralis, G2, or SK. And let's start with you, Thorin.
Okay, I'm going to go with FaZe, the multinational team. I mean, first and foremost, ever since they got Nico, they've been in every single final. And most of those finals were very competitive. Like the first one, sure, they'd only just got Nico. But this last one, there's a world in which they win 2-0 there. They could have won 2-1. So making the final every time is going to give you a fantastic chance to get the most titles in the year. At the moment, the only teams ahead of them are SK and Astralis, and they're only one title ahead. So there's lots of tournaments still to go. I'm going to say FaZe can do it by the end of the year.
All right, Friberg.
I'm gonna go with SK. I think that they have had. I mean, they had a really rough start with Phelps, but they have figured out how to play. And I mean, just looking at the way that they play and even situations and be in close games, overtimes, they're still managing to pull up like great rounds, great clutch plays, and that's what a team needs to be able to win tournaments. So I'm gonna go with SK.
Okay, and the Bears.
Team Astralis, they already have 3 under their belt. I'm sure they're going to pile on more throughout the whole year. Can't count them out yet, even though they only got 3rd place, 4th place last 2 tournaments. But you know what? They're still a solid team. They had an off tournament, and then I think they'll come back and eventually start to win more titles this year.
All right, well, 4.5 minutes. You guys know what to do. You know what the drill is. So let's go ahead and open the timer.
So with FaZe, they are a great team. You can't deny that, Thorin. But you know what? This is for how many titles. How many finals have FaZe been in but couldn't finish the deal? I think it's quite a lot. I think you might know this, Thorin. How many is this? It's a lot.
I'm not at liberty to answer your questions.
You're not at liberty to answer. So the reason why I do that, there was a famous StarCraft 1 player by the name of Stork. I'm sure if you guys know a little esports, you guys know about a story about Stork. He was probably considered one of the best StarCraft players of his time, the best Protoss player.
Does this story last 3 minutes 50 seconds?
No, it doesn't last 3 minutes 50 seconds. But the point being is, he was known as the Silver Kong. He would always get 2nd place. He'd always lose to Flash or to some other person in the finals. He never got there. And I feel like FaZe is kind of on that route where they can get to the finals. They can do so well. But once the final comes, there's that hump. That's that, something's not clicking, or maybe it's a mental game. It's, they're scared to win or something. I don't know. I'm not on a team, but I feel like that's the route that FaZe is actually going to go. A lot of second places.
Right, here's the problem. First of all, you picked Astralis, and then you said they'd won 3 titles this year. They haven't. They've won 2 titles. So you don't even know how many titles they've won. I've got to call in question now your understanding of all the rest of the
cash is technically...
no, that's definitely not a title.
$250,000 right there.
No, that's money. It's not a title.
They won 1st out of 2nd place, so I consider it.
Listen, mate, if just making money was titles, then Shroud would have all the fucking titles in NA, wouldn't he? Doesn't have any. Right, so ignore that. So Astralis, so far, yes, they won a couple of titles, the Bears. They haven't won anything since March of this year. So they're actually the team of the 3 we're even picking who won a title the longest to go of everyone. So they've still got to prove they can win titles. Haven't actually even made the finals of the last 2 events they were in. So far from certain they're going to make it. And then Friberg's pick of SK. Okay, sure, SK is certainly a very good team, but we've seen SK has some weaknesses out there. Like, for example, when they played against G2 at EPL, they lost. In fact, they have a losing record against G2 overall. Well, we know G2's in the mix when you play in these tournaments. So if they draw them in a semi, if they draw them in a quarterfinal, they could be outright at that point in time. Everyone has the kryptonite matchup, Against FaZe and Astralis, the last few ones have been pretty close, They can go either way. I don't think it's so certain that they're going to go ahead and win those titles. In fact, in this tournament, ECS, they were sometimes losing their own map pick. So I think they're a team where their success so far might be a little bit more fragile than people realize.
I mean, the thing is, SK, they have won 4 tournaments this year already. And I don't think it's going to stop. I think they're going to probably just ride the momentum, and that's kind of what they're doing right now. Look at Astralis, for example. They're not even going to Cologne because they want to prepare for the major. This is going to be another title for SK. I'm 100% sure that they're going to go to Cologne and win and ride with that momentum onto the major. And I mean, they're probably going to be the team to beat. Yeah, for sure. People are going to analyze them and anti-strat them because they are the team to beat. Yeah, sure. But I think that Fallen, his in-game leading is probably one of the absolutely best in the world. And he's adapting so well to like every team they play. And I'm pretty sure that they will figure out how to beat G2. And I'm not even sure that G2 will be able to come this far because they struggle with other teams. So I'm pretty sure that SK will clean 2017, make it the 2nd year in a row that they dominate.
So one of the problems is, like, first of all, I don't think we can say they have 4 titles because you can't just count stuff like CS Summit. Otherwise, in that case, I'm just going to tell FaZe, guys, just come to all the Gfinity tournaments and then we'll get all the titles by the end of the year now. We'll go to Gfinity, we'll go to like NA Cyberlands in NorCal or something like that. What are we doing right here, boys?
Summit has got to count. I mean, even we were there, right?
Yeah, and also help the money here. You know what? Going back to Astralis is winning that third one, which you don't claim that the Clash for or Clan for Clash, or whatever they call it, the E-League special for $250,000.
Yeah, that's because they were only playing Virtus Pro. That was like when Ivan Drago won that exhibition match against Apollo Creed. He wasn't the world champion, was he? He was just fighting a bomb in an exhibition match. He killed him. They're both dead now. They're both dead now.
I think FaZe is getting to that point that, I mean, when they're in the final, they started to think, oh shit, we lost like every final we've been in. We only won like 1 final out of 4.
Sure, but SK wasn't even in the EPL final, so FaZe at least makes the final.
I mean, yeah, okay, they had 1 game where they lost against G2, but okay, let's say that failed against
Strike all this from the record. The time finished. Strike it all from the record.
All right.
Actually, I'm gonna let Mr. Friberg finish out because I feel like he was onto something right there. I think that's very appropriate.
Right, run it back.
Go ahead, Friberg.
Put the timer back on. No, just kidding. I think that the SK will have the upper hand against FaZe because I think mentally as a team they are stronger. It still feels to me like FaZe is some kind of like mixed team in a way. They are a team that relies super heavily on their individual skill. While a team like SK, of course, they have super good individual players. They have Colsera, they have Fer, they have Phelps, Fallen. I mean, all of them are super good, and I think that their team play is gonna like overcome FaZe's individual skill in the whole year. Sure, FaZe, they can sit and play deathmatch prepare for like 1 or 2 tournaments to win those tournaments, maybe over SK. But in the long run, SK is gonna win.
All right. I'm having a tough time on this one, but mainly because the Bears actually came out and he tried to approach it like you do, Thorin, which is very impressive. I think he's taken one out of your book on this one with the Protoss gig there. So what we're going to do, we're going to give a point to Friberg for his argument, even after the timer. It was pretty good. I'm convinced. Okay. SK probably will go about and do their part. We're also going to give a point to no one else. That's it. We're going to keep it right there at that.
Reasonable. Okay. So De Beers argued from like 2007, not even within the modern time. Friberg argued outside the timer. I'm the only one who stays within the time limits and follows the rules, and I get punished.
You said you could win this show with a handicap, and we're going to give you that.
Yeah,
is that
playing
what you
with
want?
De Beers. De Beers is on the show. He's been here every time. I've won loads of times. Case closed. I win the point.
Oh god,
it's terrible.
Okay. Anyway, let's keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
It's something about a family show. All right, let's go to the last question here in regulation, and that is who is the dark horse of ESL One Cologne? And we're going to start with Mr. Friberg.
I think it's definitely gonna be Space Soldiers. They're a team that's been proven out, like especially online. They have not been maybe performing super well on LAN, but I think this is their big shot. I know they've been boot camping for a long time. I know they've been preparing for this. This is kind of their time to shine, and I'm hoping that the nerves won't get to them, that they can perform as well as they have been online. And I think they can definitely upset teams, especially in the BO1 Swiss system that it is in the ESL Cologne. So I'm sure that they will make it to playoffs at the ESL Cologne.
All right, next victim is going to be Thorin.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say Virtus Pro. Because, I mean, this is a team where even if their form looks down, they have time and time again, every single year of Counter-Strike, they find a way to come back and to be relevant and to make deep runs in big tournaments. And you put them in stadium events and the crowd's there, the other team gets nervous, they live up to the moment, they perform very well. So I'll go ahead and say the longest standing lineup and the one that every single year wins tier 1 tournaments.
Okay, Friberg, let's hear what you got.
Well, wait. I still got to go.
Excuse me,
I still got to go.
My bad.
Can't come out just yet.
Okay. Sorry, my bad.
So Friberg, don't hate me. I know this might be a little sensitive, but I picked Ninjas in Pajamas. Obviously, because of, for some reason, whenever they change a roster, they perform really well. And so I'm assuming that's a mental thing because you look at a player like Get Right, who is, and Forrest, considered one of the best players in all of CS. how can one tournament they do so well and the next tournament they're missing? And so I'm thinking it's more of a mental thing. And I think with this lineup, it's, it does that NIP magic that they've been known for over the years.
Okay, well, I do have to open the timer at 4.5 minutes. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do it.
All right, Virtus Pro. Okay, actually, no, go ahead. You start off, Friberg.
No, well, I think I'm gonna start with Virtus Pro as well, because I think Virtus Pro, I think they will reach a higher level than they have been in the past couple of months at Cologne. But I don't think their peak will be in Cologne. I think their peak will be at the major when they get back to Poland, to Krakow, in 3 weeks. I think in Poland they're gonna really shine, but I don't think this is more like a warm-up event for the major for them. I mean, not that they're seeing it as a warm-up event. I think it's just going to be the event that's going to put them in the right direction, so they will go and perform super well back in Poland.
Yeah, I think VP, the way they've been performing all year has been pretty lackluster. And as you saw in the E-League event, it's one of the most recent LAN tournaments that you saw them. Yeah, they won on Nuke. They did pretty well actually on Nuke, but on the other maps they just got absolutely destroyed. And if you want to win a tournament, you have to put up a little more than 4 rounds against, a top-tier team like Astralis.
Okay, but we're not talking about winning the tournament. As usual, the Bears, you move the goalposts. I mean, you want to talk about winning the tournament, make a case as to why Nip's going to win the tournament then, mate, if that's your criteria. So nobody would make that case. That would be ludicrous. Not only that, Nip has just removed one of the most experienced players in all of CSGO, and they've put in this young rookie. They've put in Rez, a guy where he's playing for Epsilon. He's just going to smaller tournaments. He's going to Chinese tournaments. He's not even making it deep in big tournaments. He doesn't even qualify for big tournaments. He's got to learn. He's a young guy. It's his first LAN. It's unreasonable to expect Nip to do a really deep run and make it super far in the tournament. Then you go over and you look at Space Soldiers. Space Soldiers are known as massive onliners, but they're not even good enough online to qualify for the LANs. They don't get to the big LANs. They don't get to even the minor, etc. When they played at some LANs, I remember them at ESWC. They couldn't even win ESWC. They were losing to bombs. They couldn't even win a dog shit LAN like that, which has been more dead than for Flower and Friberg's career at this point in time. Actually, it's not, technically not true. He might still play again, but at the moment, at least, it's over for them. Okay. So meanwhile, you go and look at Virtus Pro. They don't have to win the tournament, despite what the Bears, what the lies from the prosecution will tell you. All they have to do is be a dark horse. They just have to perform better than expected. This is a team where, you know what, they get a North or a G2 in the quarterfinals. Hey, they can be in the top 4. They don't have to play Astralis and FaZe and win necessarily to have a big tournament. Also, as I said, they are a team when you put them in the big pressure tournament, they tend to perform better. Even you look at the teams beating them out of these big tournaments, tends to be the best. It's not usually the Space Soldiers of the world or the NIPs of the world, usually who are eliminating them from these tournaments.
Well, if you look at this, how stacked Cologne is, out of the 16 teams, I'm pretty sure a good 14 of them can beat VP right now.
And how about NIP? How many of them could beat NIP?
How many could beat MIP? Well, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, it's possible for anyone to beat them. I mean, this is a really
so De Bez's point is 14 teams could beat VP, but 15 could beat NIP, right?
I'm just saying.
Let the jury hear what he said.
Here's the thing with NIP. Yes, they made a roster change with someone, as you say, is less experienced with Epsilon. But you know what? Yeah. They're young people. They're hungry. They want to prove themselves, as you see in.
De Bez, there's loads of young, hungry people in Somalia. Okay, that's not helping them, mate. You've got to have skills. You've got to have resources.
Look at both VP and NIP. They're both big teams that's been in the business for a very long time. I mean, NIP, they still have existing game leading. VP, they still are VP. They still play their game. But people know how we play. Like, I remember if I played a game against like Astralis, I know how Astralis play. I mean, even if it's tournament from tournament, because people don't change up too much, especially not standards and stuff like that. But then a team like Space Soldiers, people don't anti-strat Space Soldiers. People will just go in and play against Space Soldiers and hope for the best. Hope that Xantares doesn't drop 45 bombs against them, right? And I'm pretty sure that he will. I'm pretty sure that Xantares will go to Cologne and he will just go ham and just destroy everyone. I'm 100% sure that they will make it.
The reason why no one actually scouts Space Soldiers is the same reason why when I'm trying to figure out how to destroy my enemies, I don't waste my time focused on a little fly, because first of all, if it comes in, I swat it away, and then usually the window's closed, it can't even get in. The window is the metaphor for online qualifiers. Space Soldiers don't even get in usually, and if they do, you swat them away. You focus on someone who actually matters, like Virtus Pro, very dominant team, a dangerous team, and ultimately, if that was the end of time, that'd be a
Space Soldiers are going for playoffs. I just started to squeeze it in. Thorin out, always the last word, right?
Well done. Well done. All right, so I've got to award some points here. And I'm going to go ahead and give a point to the Bears. But I'm also going to give a point.
For what reason, though?
Wait a minute. Hold on. No. I'm also going to give a point to Thorin and Friberg on this one.
Right.
Because
There we go.
Okay, so, we do know how this goes. That was the end of regulation. And, ever so close, they beat you out by one. Eric, you did fantastic. I'm thoroughly impressed by your StarCraft 2 references. And then 15 or 14 out of the 15 teams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, nonetheless, what we're going to go into now is a rapid fire round. I'm going to present I'm going to present a question. You will then try to say your answer first before the other person, and you have to defend and attack that other person's answer. So, without any further ado, let's move along. We've got the current best in-game leader in the game.
Glaive.
I'll say Fallen.
Okay, so you can go ahead and present your side. Start with you, Friberg.
I think Glaive, the thing that he has done with Astralis, but from being both mentally being bad mentally state and also the in-game way, the way that he's leading the team, that way that he's running in first, showing them the way, and the amount of titles that he has won with them. I mean, they won a major, they won I don't know how many tournaments they won now, but I mean, they are still been super good with Glaive, and it's been the upswing has been kind of the turn, kind of the key thing missing from Astralis has been Glaive.
Okay, Duncan?
Okay, so I'm going to say Fallen because what's key is he's now been a part of 2 teams that have won massive tournaments. But even though 4 of the 5 players look the same, because they've changed out FNX and they've brought in Phobes, they've done it in an entirely different blueprint. The team that they play with now, this is a very skill-heavy team. He's had to adapt this young player Phobes, who never did anything really in Immortals, bring him into a tier 1 team and win massive tournaments. So it's very different from when he won in the past. So this is a guy who won a lot in 2016 with one style of play, and now is winning with a different style of play. He's had to adapt his own elements. So I think it's hard to find someone who's had that level of success with different types of teams.
Okay, now hold on.
Okay.
Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off, sir. We're going to open the timer, and you guys are going to get to attack each other's arguments. All right, so we're going to start the timer at 1 minute, and I'm going to give it to you. Go.
All right, so basically looking at the way that they're in-game leading, I think Glaive is more impressive as in-game leader because look at the way he is calling. He's the one sacrifices himself for the team, and is still putting up numbers in games. I mean, he's still top tier individual player. Maybe he's not as good as Fallen. I mean, Fallen, he's the upper. He's kind of staying back. He's maybe not always entry fragging. He has Fer, who's just running around and killing people. Then it's not hard calling. I mean, FaZe, they have. SK, they have super good individual players that kind of wins games for them. While Astralis, they are more like a team. They win more as a team, and that's, in my opinion, because of Glaive, the in-game leading, the team play.
So, okay, one of the problems I have with that is that Astralis would have won Star Series Season 3 Finals. They were leading 13-7 on the 3rd map, and Glaive had something like 1 kill in the last 17 rounds of the game, and they lost the final outright. That one, even 2 or 3 kills could have done it. Then you look at SK, they've totally revamped their map pool to be the opposite of what it used to be. Cash used to be a permaban. Now it's one of their best maps. That shows tactical intuition. That shows breaking down, doing work, and Fallen has absolutely transformed another team to the top. Glaive's only taken 1 team in the modern era to the top. And
I'm showing 0 on the timer. Duncan, thank you very much. The Bears, how are you feeling on this one? Which way are you sort of siding to?
Well, I've always been a fan of following the system. The thing with Astralis, though, with the addition of Glaive, is that if he was gone, they would still, I consider Astralis still a top 5 team, maybe top 10 at most. I think, but though, if Fallen is gone from SK, that team is dead. I don't think they will be a top 10 team. I think the system that Fallen actually brings to SK is really the life of it and really revolves around it. Astralis, they do have good people on their team and good teamwork. But before Glaive came on, they were still a easily tier 1, top 10 team, top 5 team. So I think he helped them boost to that championship status, as Friberg said. But without Fallen, I think SK's in shambles, and they completely rely on him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to side with Mr. Friberg and Glaive as well. I do believe you're onto something there. And I'm actually going to do that just to spite Thorin.
Just after his explanation.
Just to go ahead and
play with Friberg.
just go
Listen,
ahead.
the Bears, history knows we were on the right side, mate. Don't worry. History will be our witness.
I mean, he's from down south.
Hey, whoa, relax. We don't need to bring the South into this. That's God's country. Now, let's move on. You have to keep one. Magis Boy or Config?
Config.
Magis Boy.
All right. Well, Thorin, let's hear your side.
Okay, so at the moment, Config is one of the few upsides that team has. He performs in pretty much every tournament. He's a guy where, I mean, Friberg should appreciate this. He's more on the entry side of the equation. So he's the playmaker. He's the guy who pushes in when anything else in the team isn't working. And he creates plays that allow the rest of the team to have a chance to win some of these rounds. And they've had a fantastic T side for quite a while now. It's been one of the better things about their squad. And in these big tournaments, he's had these big performances. Whether he lives, whether he dies, he's a playmaker who makes things happen on the map.
Okay, Friberg.
I mean, I think Magis Boy, he's more of a stable star player in that team. I think he's able to put up big numbers. He's never usually last on the scoreboard. He's always winning clutches, putting up big numbers in games. He's more of a stable player. Well, I think, okay, maybe we shouldn't argue now, so I won't flame Config yet.
Hey, I like it. You're catching on. All right, let's get that timer going. We've got 1 minute on the clock. You guys can go at it.
Okay, so the problem is you look at the last few tournaments and Config's been massively outperforming Magis Boy. He the guy where he doesn't know who he is. He has no identity. He doesn't know what his name is. He's changed his name from event to event. He can't find his place within the team again. Looked like an all-star last year. That was last year. A lot of things happened last year. NIP won IEM Oakland. Things changed since then. Okay, that's the past. This is now. Config is the future. Magis was a could have been who never was and never will be. Config is now the present, the truth, and the way.
I think that Config does, he tilts too hard. From what I've seen, his body language and the way that he can also bring down his team can also damage his team. While a player like Magis Boy, he's kind of like the guy screaming, the guy that pumps up his team, motivates them to do better, and still performing super well. Sure, Config, he can have a super good tournament. He has to run around and gun people, but still you have Magis Boy, who's a super strong and stable player who will always perform. And I'd rather have him in the team than a player that also can play super bad and demotivates the team.
This is a tough one, honestly. Eric, I don't know what you're feeling, but I'm willing to ask. So what do you got?
I'm feeling okay, but thanks for asking. But with I liked the point that Friberg made about being positive, being the person to pump you up, because they're both, I think, pretty awesome players. Config, though, is again, it's a negative player. He talks too much on Twitter. I don't know if that's a real thing or he's trying to hype stuff up, but it's just a negative. It just brings a negative aspect to his team. And Config has too many random lock-ons in the wall, and I don't like that.
Oh
I don't like it.
God.
I don't like it. That's my 2 cents on that.
All right. Yeah, something about lock-ons. Wow, that took a turn.
You co-sign that? You want to co-sign what Les just said there?
Oh, God. I'm going to have to side with Mr. Shields here. I think that's the way this works. I think you've convinced me, per the usual, so that's about how that goes. Let's go on. We've only got a couple more. So let's go with what team will win ESL One Cologne?
SK Gaming.
I'll say FaZe.
All right. Let's hear it, Friberg.
As I mentioned earlier, I think SK, they have the momentum right now. They're feeling kind of invincible. They've been performing super well at all the tournaments as of the last couple of months, except for the EPL. They've won them all that they've been to. So I think that they will go in super strong at Cologne as well, and clean sweep.
Okay, Thorin.
Okay, so FaZe has made the final of all these tournaments since Nico arrived, so they've got a very good chance of making the final as is, which gives you a better chance to win the tournament, obviously. Then you've got to add in, there's no Astralis. Look who their main competition is. It is SK Gaming. It is G2. It is these squads. Now, first of all, they had a very close game against SK Gaming recently, so that's certainly possible they can win that match. And against G2, actually, they crushed G2 when they played them at ECS. So they don't even necessarily have to worry about the other teams. They've got a fantastic match against everyone, one of the best map pools in the world.
Okay, well, 1 minute. You know how this goes. Go at each other.
I mean, I think that SK, they have a super strong game leader in Fallen. So I think he will lead
The best, some would say. Yeah. So, okay, I see how it works. Okay.
Yeah. No, but I mean, as I said before, SK they've been really showing off well ever since they had a really rough start with Phelps, but ever since they worked around like how to play and what maps to play. I'm guessing that they play Cash because Phelps is super confident on Cash. I mean, that's how it works actually. So SK, they are a team that have a super strong map pool. Yes, they have lost their maps, but they're still like super strong on like 5 or 6 of the maps.
So SK is a team where Taco said in an interview recently that to win a major, you've got to win one of the small ones before. Well, they've already won one of the small ones and one of the big ones. So they're not going to win every tournament. You know, they're looking at that major. They're not just looking at ESL One Colognes and events. They're looking for legacy, you know, whereas FaZe, they need these titles. They've only won one so far. So they're going all out. They're trying to win. And you can best believe the team that loses usually is the one that improves more. They just lost to SK. They're going to improve and they're going to beat them in this one.
That would be the timer, sir. I hate to cut you off like that. Now, the Bears.
You didn't, so don't worry about it.
Oh, right. Well, how about that?
Keep it correct.
The Bears, which way are you sided on this one?
Now, I got one question before I decide. Is this a Swiss system or group play? Do we know what ESL
Swiss system.
Cologne form? Swiss system. So in the Swiss system, I believe FaZe is a little stronger. SK sometimes starts off a little slow in the tournaments, and that could backfire them against, in the Swiss system like this. I think SK is a lot better in best of 3s than best of 1s. And I think FaZe definitely has an edge with their, I guess, not random puggy style, but more of a mixed play than SK, which is more structured. They're a team that adapts after each map, and I think that's one of the SK strengths. So I'm leaning a little bit towards FaZe, just a little bit.
So I'm leaning towards giving Eric a point just for participation at this point. I mean, he's doing great over there. His judge-jury sort of relationship we've developed. With that being said, I don't know, man. There's just something about the SK argument that's super right. But I'm going to lean towards Thorin on this one. Let's go with FaZe. Let's go ahead and give Thorin the point and move forward into the next question. Who is the most mechanically skilled player to touch CSGO?
Simple.
Forest.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's start with you, Friberg.
I mean, being able to be his teammate for such a long time, I know what he's capable of. He can handle almost every weapon in the game. He's super good at it. His like movement skills, his way of like everything about him. He's Forrest is probably the most complete player in CS:GO and CS history.
Nice. Okay, Thorin.
Okay, so Simple is a player who was famous for literally every weapon in the game. He's fantastic with the USP. He's got an amazing Desert Eagle. He was even good with the Jumping Scout. He's got amazing rifles. He actually has one of the best AWPs in the world, and yet in theory isn't just an AWP player. So he literally uses every weapon in the game and has like super highlights, has been amazing in like 2 different continents now, has been super far, went to the final of a major with a team that he wasn't even from that continent couldn't communicate with, just mechanically a god.
Okay, well, we've got 1 minute and I can't wait. Let's hear it.
Okay, so if you want to talk about mechanics, well, the AWP is actually one of the most simple and yet mechanically demanding weapons because it's just point and click. It's just like you play in that aimbots map, you're warming up, point and click, that's all you do. Well, in terms of AWPer, Simple wipes the floor with Forrest. Forrest is an all right AWPer. Simple is so good with the AWP that some people think he's a primary AWPer. He's not. He played the majority of his careers with a rifle. He's the only hybrid AWPer, when I looked up these stats, who had almost as many AWP kills as he had rifle kills, and yet he's played as a primary rifle player. Normally for hybrid players, it's about 1 to 3 for AWP kills to rifle kills. So he's someone where he's shown with both sets of weapons, he can be, in theory, the best player in the world and dominant and take his team extremely far. He's won massive tournaments.
I mean, okay, maybe I'll give Simple the op, but I'll take Forrest in the pistol round, which is, in my opinion, more important to have a super strong pistol player to get the advantage in winning pistol rounds, more than the op. And also with the rifles, Forrest is 10 times stronger as Simple with rifles.
Simple would have got more than 2 kills against Vegas Squadron.
That was Get Right though. But
that's true. That's irrelevant. I just said he would have got more.
Outstanding. Friberg coming in with the heat. I love it. DeBears, I think we have a clear favorite for this question. I'm going to let you say your side.
Well, I think the question was what all time, not last like 1 or 2 years. So obviously, Simple's not in the question.
Definitely wasn't the question. Definitely wasn't the question. I'll just
Wasn't it
again
all
reiterate
time?
that
It
was
was
not
it
the
was
question.
in CS:GO.
The question
CS:GO
was,
has been around for more than 2 years.
The question was, who is the most mechanically skilled player to touch CS:GO?
Okay. I still go with Forrest. I think with Simple as what's showing like he's been kind of missing in the last like 6 months with Navi.
Where's Forrest been, Matt? Where's Forrest been?
He's been a little better than Team Navi. That's for sure.
Definitely hasn't. Definitely has not. Absolutely, categorically has not. Navi made the playoffs of a bunch of tournaments.
Hey, Duncan, you're talking to my juror all wrong. Okay, relax. Let the man speak. Let's hear it, Eric.
Okay,
No,
some more lies, please.
I agree that Simple is a great mechanical player, especially with the alt. But I think Forrest all around is probably a better, pistoler, rifler, probably a lot better teammate too. I consider that a mechanic.
What's that got to do with
being a
mechanics?
nice person, being hey, listen, you can define what you want. I think
You're going to
the
be
whole
working
thing,
as a fucking
the
mechanic
whole,
after this show, mate.
The whole thing. I don't have that much skill. Okay, I don't have that much skill.
Okay. Keep it going.
Okay. This got a little heated, a little bit more than I expected. I'm going to have to side on the Forest side of things, though. I think, Simple is an awesome player. He's really good at what he does, but mechanically speaking, Forest has been there for so incredibly long and has definitely proven what he's capable of. I also think, isn't he really good at surfing? I could be wrong, Adam?
Yeah, he's super good at surfing as well. That's why I picked him. I mean, he's movement king, and he's the most complete player. He's the player you want in your team.
It used to be, yeah. It used to be.
Well,
We'll see.
Okay. This is going to be the one that make or breaks the winner of the episode, and I think it's a pretty fun question. If everyone was a free agent, who would you draft first overall?
Cold Zero.
Fur.
Okay. This should be good. Let's hear it, Thorin.
Okay, so first of all, Cold Zero is the best player in SK Gaming. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he's also someone where the way he reads the game is like unbelievable. I mean, Fallen's even said at times in big tournaments, like Cold Zero essentially did the calls that won them the game, His style is incredibly consistent. You will never find a player who has as many incredible stats for every single tournament, seemingly, and almost never has a bad tournament. So if you just want to build a team that can win majors, that can win big tournaments, he would be the first piece you'd put in, because the other pieces are debatable, but he's one of the only ones who really stands among all the players, like stands out, like always has a huge performance.
I mean, Fur, he's the one that's serving everything to Colsera. Fur, he's the one that's creating all the rounds, all the openings for Colsera to shine. So without a player like Fur, I mean, I honestly think that Fur is the key to Fur and Fallen is the key to SK's success. I'm not saying Colsera is bad; he's one of the absolute best players in the world. But if the question was who I want if there were a free agent, and I want Fur in my team instead of Colsera, because I think Fur if I were in-game leading, just having him opening up sites, like entry fragging, and the way that he moves with the team and opens up with the team is more valuable to a team than having a player like Colsera. Sure, Colsera is a great clutcher, but I'd rather have someone like Fur.
Okay, well, this will decide who wins the episode. So let's go ahead and put that 1-minute timer on the board, and let's hear it, guys.
Being a good teammate is great. It's excellent if you can help people. It's good if you can do things that benefit them. But ultimately, Counter-Strike is about killing people. And nobody in Counter-Strike kills people as consistently while dying as little as Cold Zero does. And he does it against the best teams. He does it in majors. He does it in major finals. He does it in all the tier 1 tournaments. And it doesn't matter who you put against him. He does what no one else can do mathematically and in terms of style of play.
I think that Fur, he's the key, as I said, to SK success. The way that he's opening up rounds, the way that, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna talk shit about Colsera, but he's kind of baiting his teammate. He's not the guy that's running in and getting opening kills. Those are the hard ones. I mean, Fur, he maybe run in, kill 1 or 2, and opens it up for Colsera to come out and close it. And that's much tougher, not being able to know where your opponents are, just to open up bomb site, open up whole maps for his team, get the map control, which is super important in CS that he's getting for his team. So Fallen can call so great. That's because of Fur.
Okay, well, the timer is at 0, and I do have to hear what the jury has to say. DeBears, a tough one, but let's hear it.
This is a real tough one because they're both amazing players. And as Friberg put it, coldzera, he is more in the back line. And it kind of pads his stats. If it's 2-on-5 situation, coldzera is not going for it. He's going to save his gun. He won't die. Look, there's a +1 on his stats or whatever. But that's not the main point. Main point is I think his job's a lot harder. And in the mind games, he does like crazy things. Like he will be super aggressive on pistol rounds by himself. He'll push up the middle and cobble for, on CT all by himself. And he does such random stuff that I think that can actually put a wrench in a lot of game plans for other teams. Unlike coldzera, who's kind of more of the passive, I'm going to be second or third person in. Very consistent, but again, he's probably a little more predictable than a Fur because Fur is like a wild card. He could do anything. And I think that could be more a problem to teams than, a consistent coldzera.
Duncan, I'm going to ask you, have you lost an episode you've been on yet?
I mean, in terms of truth and what we all know actually happened, obviously not. But I mean, I think you might have given Steel the win once or some bullshit. Probably just trying to make up for the fact he's obviously not going to be involved in esports again. So I got what you were doing there. It was kind of charity work. I was like, fair play, make a wish and all that.
Man.
Is that what we're going with again? Are you thinking of the same sort of route here?
I don't know. I feel that Friberg comes in this last question. He comes in clutch. And I feel that he definitely presented a really good argument for why.
For talking about coming in clutch, then you should probably put 1 more minute on the clock and just give him another chance to really close out the argument.
Would you like that? Because we can do that.
Yeah, why not? Let's just do that. Then,
let's add one more minute. 1 more minute to the timer.
Okay.
And let's have these two just battle it out once more.
Sure. Okay.
Go, Thorin.
So I'll just go ahead and say, first of all, coldzera's done it longer. He did it for 2 whole years. And I remember when Fur was the main star player of Luminosity when there was no coldzera, and they were a million miles from winning any tournaments. They actually never won a best of 3 over a top 10 ranked team. coldzera has been the cornerstone for all these tournaments. He's literally been voted MVP player of the team more than anyone else, by about 10 times more. So that means everyone else in the CS world is basically saying he's the more valuable player out of him and Fur, etc. So as good as Fur may be, the numbers and the tournaments all stand by the side of coldzera. The rest of it is but talk and imagination.
All right, as a player who has been playing against SK and Luminosity, I know that playing against Fur is a lot harder than playing against coldzera. I mean, okay, let's tab up. Okay, we're in a 4-1. Okay, it's coldzera. Let's do it actually correctly. Let's not run out and let him kill us because he's good at aiming. But Fur, he's a player that can just ruin maps. I remember playing, I think it was the ESL season, the one before in London. We played against Fur, and he just owned us. We played overpass, and he just destroys a whole T half by just pushing at the perfect timing and being a nuisance, what to say, to us at the whole map. And he's coldzera can't be that player who does that. It's only Fur.
Do you want to go again, Duncan, or was that hard enough of a body for you?
I don't really understand what it has to do with why it's the play you'd pick first.
Because
listen, I've made my case as it is, right? Literally, the entire CS world has given coldzera all the MVPs in a team where he played with Fur. I mean, what more do you want? What is everyone else wrong?
People love stats.
But yeah, people, as the bear said, people do love stats, and coldzera, he always has great stats because he's most likely the guy that's been alive and clutching, right? Fur has been getting those 2 opening frags, so coldzera can maybe win that 2-on-3 or 1-on-3 or 1-on-2, whatever.
Okay, I'll make it easy for everyone. Okay, I'll make it really simple. This is a way you can all everyone can pick their side, and whatever side it is, we'll all just live with it. Okay. So the same logic that says that Fur is better than coldzera would say that Friberg is better than GetRight, because Friberg was the guy who made the action and did the entries, who allowed the round to develop, and then GetRight baited everyone, came in, killed everyone, and then won the rounds. Right. So all I'm saying is, at the end, you can absolutely agree with that logic, but if you think Fur is better than coldzera, you are saying Friberg was better than classic GetRight, and so you must stand by that to the end of your days. And so it's up to you, Trace. What do you want to say? Which do you think?
Who was the MVP of the Raider that we won, Thorin?
There wasn't MVPs back then, so let's forget that.
Okay.
There wasn't MVP voting back then, so.
All right.
Jesus. Okay, well, as if you couldn't make this any more difficult for me, Duncan, I thoroughly appreciate everything you've done here on this episode today.
Just let your heart speak to you. Just stand by whatever you believe.
But when my heart...
Say what you mean, son.
My heart
Say what you mean.
just says that it doesn't look like you're going to go home with a W today. In fact, you're going to be taking an L, and we're going to be giving this point to Friberg. I'm also going to give an additional 3 points to DeBears. And that will put.
Does he win the episode then? Okay, yeah. I'll see how it goes.
So
okay.
with that being said, give Friberg one more. Now we're good. Okay, Friberg wins the episode. Congratulations, Friberg. You have stumped Thorin, aka Duncan Shields. And I'm gonna give you open floor for shout outs. Anything you want to say?
It was fun being here. I didn't really know what I got into when I got here, but I kind of learned how to fire shots, I guess. A good warm-up for me before going to Cologne, I guess. I guess I'll bring some Thorin with me to the analyst desk in a way. No, but it was fun. Being able to talk a little bit and discuss things, even though I could argue about things that maybe I agreed with Thorin or the Bears in some questions, trying to argue against them.
That's the game. That's the game. We all know that, mate. Yeah.
All right, and since you've got the second amount of points, the Bears, let's hear your send-off.
Oh, it's been an honor. It's a pleasure. It's awesome. Thank you, Friberg, for coming on, and Thorin, you as well. It's always been fun, and it's good sometimes not being last place, and I feel good. Thank you.
Thorin, I'm sure you have something outlandish, ridiculous to say, so let's just hear it and get it over with.
I mean, I'll also kind of tag on to what Friberg said there and say, just for any fans who really think that we all just coincidentally don't ever give the same answer and we all three think something different, like, you guys probably also believe that, like, Hillary Clinton wasn't trying to do any dodgy stuff during that election, so no need to argue with you guys. And I will just finally say that at the end, as I mentioned in that last point there, all I'm going to say is you can all agree whatever way you want, but if you think that Fur/Friberg is better than GetRight/Coldzera, then you should have to live with that for the rest of your lives, no matter whether it's just a game show for fun or whatever. So let's just leave it at that, and let's just ask yourself this: who's the better player, Coldzera?
I couldn't pick Coldzera.
I know you couldn't, but you won the game now, so it doesn't matter. That's essentially we all realize the way the game's played. So fair enough. That's the end. I do still get paid for this, right?
Actually, no. We're going to revisit that after the show. Anyway, that does it for us here. We appreciate you all tuning in to Put Up or Shut Up. Make sure you send your questions in on Twitter to us. And honestly, as always, it's great having you. We'll see you next episode.